Sports and politics have mixed since the revolution. On the fields of Valley Forge, George Washington spent days playing rounders, an early form of baseball, with his soldiers. And since then, savvy politicians have used athletic competitions to score votes. William Taft became the first president to throw out the opening pitch, doing it from his seat in the stands. At 330 pounds, who knew Taft had an arm? Richard Nixon became the first president to sit in the stands in an NFL game, Redskins-Cowboys. He's smiling because he had money on Dallas. Now, when the Chicago Bulls were in their dynasty days in the 90s, Jordan wasn't always the most famous man in the arena. One night, couldn't score courtside seats, but President Clinton watched Chicago make a run for their 5th championship. And visiting the locker room even after the game, probably went out with Rodman that night. Presidential cameos during big games tell you a lot about the state of the nation. And over the weekend, former President Trump rolling into fight night in Miami.
Donald J. Trump, flanked by UFC CEO Dana White. And lost in the pageantry is just how big a mixed martial arts fan Donald Trump is. He sits octagon side with the cans on, absolutely loves our live events, and a real privilege to have President Trump in the building at UFC 299.
I can't think of a sporting event that Joe Biden could make an appearance at and receive standing ovations, besides a WNBA game. The UFC fan base isn't partisan. They're just red-blooded American men and their girlfriends. They're there to see knockouts. Trump walked in like he was the main event. Celebrities shaking hands, taking selfies. We see some familiar faces there, friends of the show, and some athletes. Bengals QB Joe Burrow and San Francisco's defensive end Nick Bosa hanging out with the president pre-fight. After Dustin Poirier knocked out his opponent, he waltzed over and talked to Trump and Ivanka. Watch out, Jared. It was pay-per-view, millions watching at home and in bars across the country. Trump's face on the screen more than Joe Rogan's. And he didn't have to buy $30 million in ads like the Biden campaign just did. This was his second stop of the day. Earlier, the president in Georgia, just hours before at a rally, delivering his verdict on Joe's State of the Union.
Joe Biden should not be shouting angrily at America. America should be shouting angrily at Joe Biden. And we should be saying, Crooked Joe, you're fired. Get out of here. You're fired. You're incompetent. You're incompetent. Get out of here. You're destroying our nation. Get the hell out of here.
Now, the room was at capacity, 4,000 folks amassing at the entrance hours earlier. But there was another event in Georgia that day. Joe Biden, just a few miles away, the president of the United States, on a Saturday, no one else has anything to do. These were the Biden voters clamoring to see his campaign event. Inside the room, there were more reporters than supporters. He had bigger crowds during COVID. And it looked like the 12 people who came to see him speak, half of them were there to boo.
You're a dictator, do genocide, Joe! Tens of thousands of Palestinians!
This is the tale of two campaigns. One's electric, the other's staged. One man cares, the other pretends to, and should probably write Georgia off after the Laken Riley murder. Donald Trump met with her family backstage before his speech, consoled them, and laid her death at the feet of the president.
Biden has implemented a formal policy that illegal aliens who intrude into the United States are granted immunity from deportation. Thus, when this monster showed up at our border, he was set free immediately under the program that Crooked Joe created. I call it free to kill. It's free to kill. Now, he was illegal. And I say he was an illegal alien. He was an illegal immigrant. He was an illegal migrant. And he shouldn't have been in our country, and he never would have been under the Trump policy.
Meanwhile, the current president, whose policies create death, called Laken Riley the wrong name and still hasn't even called her family to apologize. But Biden did apologize to someone, Laken's killer.
You used the word illegal when talking about the man who allegedly killed Laken Riley.
An undocumented person. And I shouldn't have used illegal. It's undocumented. I'm not going to treat any of these people with disrespect. Look, they built the country. The reason our economy is growing.
So you regret using that word?
Yes.
Biden regrets disrespecting an illegal who killed an American. The illegal disrespected our border, our laws, and Laken Riley's life, and Biden apologized to him. He didn't apologize to Laken's family for letting the killer into the country or for getting her name wrong. He apologized to her killer for getting his name right. An illegal immigrant is someone who immigrated into the country illegally. It's a crime to break into the country, just like it's a crime to break into a house. A burglar isn't undocumented because his name's not on the deed. He's a criminal because he's breaking and entering. That's illegal. Biden doesn't like saying illegal because it makes him complicit in the crime since he invited them here and released them and protects them from deportation. If legals are just newcomers, it makes amnesty easier. But apologizing to migrant murderers in an election year, he's digging his political grave. And the White House knows it and denies it was even an apology. Watch.
I want to be really clear about something. The president absolutely did not apologize. There was no apology anywhere in that conversation. He did not apologize. He used a different word.
If I regret disrespecting you is not an apology, what is? The most pathetic part about this is the media made him apologize. No one cared he called the killer illegal, except the media. Now look at what the media did. Good luck getting answers after this.
Am I allowed to take any questions? Anybody here to stay?
Stop it. The cars. Thank you, Fast.
That was it. Bars. Whatever happened to Juiced Up Joe from the State of the Union? The fearless defender of democracy, the eloquent elder-in-chief, the political pugilist titillating Mika and Joe. What happened? Does the president still have it? Or did it wear off?
In Pennsylvania, I have a message for you. Send me to Congress that I can support this right in the U.S. Capitol, the same building where our freedoms came under assault on July the 6th. Tremendous amount of things you can cut. Maybe precise. Tremendous amount of things you can do, not cut. He said, but the bottom line is, he's still at it.
July 6th? Send me to Congress? Whatever happened to Lincoln and FDR? I guess we're back to the real Biden. So where does he get his energy from?
On board Air Force One, the president and I talked about how energized he is to take on Donald Trump, his likely opponent. Biden told me every time he hears Trump speak, he gets, quote, juiced up. After touching down in Atlanta, I witnessed juiced up energy firsthand as he and First Lady Dr. Jill Biden met with minority business leaders at a local venue, the Gathering Spot.
Donald Trump, the only thing that gets Joe's juices flowing. Not the 10 million migrants pouring across the border, not the gunfights in the streets, not the high prices and low test scores. I don't want someone who wants to win for him. I want someone who wants to win for us. The forgotten men and women get Trump's juices flowing. It's time to make the American people the center of attention. I want a president obsessed with you, the voter, not with the other guy.